Here we're doing section 1.3, solve linear equations. Again, I would expect this to be relatively familiar to you. The first set of instructions asks us to identify an error. And this is what number 4 looks like. And what happened here? 4x plus 1 equals 12. If you show your work, you would not make this mistake. So if I wrote minus 1, this would not equal 13. So this should be 11, and then therefore, when I divide by 4, I'm showing my work, x equals 11 over 4. So that's just reminding you, and I see that a lot. So if you show your work, you won't make those silly mistakes. Let's do number 8. There's some fractions involved there. One of the things I always like to do is to write everybody as a fraction. The next step says 1/3 x plus 2 equals 4. So it looks like they added 1/2 x plus 1/2 x. And 1/4 plus 1/2, I would have to change that to 2/4 x, and I would get 3/4 x plus 2 equals 4. They have 1/3. Not sure how they got that, but an error that people are likely to make. Personally, what I would do with this whole thing is multiply it by 4, and I'd get 1x plus 8 equals 16 minus 2x. 4 times that, the 4's cancel, I get 1x. 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 4 is 16, and 4 divided by 2 is 2x. Then the whole thing becomes a lot easier to solve. That's a common practice for undoing fractions, making your life a little easier. The second set says solve your equation and check your solution. So here's a relatively simple one. 3 equals 5 minus x. Subtract 5. And I'm going to get negative 2 equals negative x. Divide by negative 1, and x equals 2. Some people might put the x on the other side. A lot of us like the familiarity of that, having x on the left and our numbers on the right. That's fine. There's more than one way to do this. But the idea is to now check. 3 equals 5 minus 2. Check. Let's do another one with fractions. 1/4 plus x equals negative 1/8. I'm going to subtract 1/4. So I have x equals negative 1/8 minus 1/4. I'd like common denominators, multiply these by 2, and I get 2/8. So a negative 1/8 minus a 2/8 is a negative 3/8. Let's check that. 1/4 minus 3/8, that plus minus equals negative 1/8, and this would be 2/8 minus 3/8 equals negative 1/8. That checks. Let's see. What do we do when we have, whoops. Sorry. I've still working on getting my videos correct, paying attention. So I subtracted 1/4 from both sides. I wrote this horizontally because it's easier to see. I need common denominators. 2 over 8 and a negative 1 minus a 2. If my temperature is negative 1 and it drops 2 more degrees, now I'm at negative 3. So I'm checking 1/4 minus 3/8 equals negative 1/8. Change 1/4 to 2/8, and I can see that's negative 1/8. And then I'm going to do one to remind you how to handle variables on both sides. And of course, I just want you guys to do the odds, so I'm going to end up, I'll do one like number 31. I'll say 5x minus 3 equals x plus 4. And I want to get all my letters on one side and all my numbers on the other. That's how I like to think about it. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides, and then I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and I get 4x equals 7. So x equals 7/4. So check this. 5 over 1 times 7 over 4 minus 3 over 1. And so when I'm working with fractions, I like to write everything as a fraction. It makes life a lot easier. So this is going to become 35 over 4. And let's make that 12 over 4. And this is 7 over 4 plus 16 over 4. And here I get 33 over 4 equals 33 over 4. Check. Finally, there's some problems about perimeter. I hope you remember that perimeter is just adding up the outsides. If it's a rectangle, those are going to have different dimensions. So this perimeter would be 2x plus 2y. If it's a square, it's just 4x. A triangle, in this case, there's an equilateral triangle. They're all the same. There's a good one here about sales tax. So I'm going to try to come up with, talks about 36. We don't have to do that one. So maybe I'll just show it to you. It says the sales tax is 6%. The total bill is $303. How much did the merchandise cost? So I'm going to let P equal the price, right? So I have P plus my tax is going to be 6% of P, and that total thing came to 303. So I had my price, 6% times my price gets added on to my price, and I end up with 303. Remember, there's really a 1 there. So I get 1.06p equals 303. And when I divide, I don't have my calculator with me, but that's how you would do that. Just a good sales tax problem. Okay, have fun with, whoops, there I go again. Have fun with those.